Hey guys, happy Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, July 30th, 2019. Super excited to be back on the TED Show with my beautiful friend, my funny friend. We've been laughing for the last 25 minutes. Cassie Lamoureux, right?
Hi.
Hi,
Yes.
Cassie. All right,
Hello.
so let us know you can hear us or see us and see us. Ben Gilbert's on. What's up, Ben? Give us a thumbs up, a heart, anything, because obviously you're going to want JP's on. Thank you, Ben. So they can hear us and see us. So we're good. We're getting love. Look at the love. I told you you would have love when you came on the show. We all love love. It's been a while. I've been trying to get you on the show for a long time.
That is true.
And then you finally ventured into the crazy big city.
I come to the big. I was in the big city last Friday night.
I know you do. I'm just teasing. Stacy's on, and she's like, "Oh, my bestie's on. She loves you. She loves you too." All right, so let's learn a little bit about Cassie. I know enough to be dangerous, but I know there's like 95 layers to you. So give them a little background on you. Hi, Shirley from Idaho. Give us a little background on you, where you're from, and kind of your journey.
So I grew up right here in Central Florida. I actually went to Lake Mary High School and graduated. Go
ahead, say it.
I tell them when I graduated, 1990. So I grew up right here, and I lived in Thornton Park in my 20s. So I lived downtown. I moved out for just about 8 months to Nashville. I hated it. Came right back to Orlando.
What made you go to Nashville?
It was a job transfer at the time, and we moved there right when tons of tornadoes, and I was like, people tell us in Florida we don't have any weather, and that is true, because I was I'm in the middle of the night with tornado warnings.
Oh, that's not
so
good.
And it was like, and no offense to anybody that loves country music, but there's a lot of country music in Nashville, and I'm not a huge country fan, so I really like the way that Orlando is super diverse, and when you grow up here in this diversity pool, restaurants, right? Everywhere. You've got so many diverse options. When we went to Nashville at the time, it was too much of a shocker. I just couldn't deal. So.
I'm amazed because that's become such a tourist capital or tourist destination.
Yeah, they've dolled it up, and at the time they were really trying. It's just that, like, you go from growing up in this environment where Orlando is a melting pot, Central Florida is a melting pot, and then you go somewhere that's not. It wasn't at the time much of a melting pot. I just couldn't deal. I couldn't deal with it. So we came back to Orlando, and I didn't get into the real estate industry right away. I'm actually an art major. And
So I was going to ask you. So you grew up in it, though. You grew up in your mom.
Yeah, so the reason I didn't want to do real estate was because I grew up in it.
Right, so you're like, no thank you.
I'm like, those realtors don't get weekends off. They're getting called. I'm at soccer practice or band practice, and, my mom's on the phone. At the time, super annoyed me that she was always on the phone, because at the time, remember, cell phones weren't in everybody's hands.
That's true.
So I actually traveled around and made my living off my art for a few years, and I still do art. I still consider myself an artist.
What kind of art? So, and when you talk about traveling around, I'm curious, right? I'm totally feeding you this.
I know.
So I'm curious if it's coming. You really did, like, you absolutely lived the life of a not starving artist, but an artist who is totally immersed in their craft.
Yes. So yeah, pretty much we traveled around, and we made jewelry at the time. I was actually doing ceramic arts, and I had my kiln and everything, but I actually became allergic to the clay. And how we funded our trip around the country was we made jewelry, and I sold it in parking lots and art shows. And we sold it at Grateful Dead shows, and we made about $300 a day at the time, which is actually really good.
That's really good,
considering I'm in a parking lot. So that's how we funded our trip. And then in between dead shows, when I was selling jewelry, we camped out in the woods with the Rainbow family. So it's the Rainbow Coalition.
I couldn't remember what the family was called. So what is the Rainbow family?
So the Rainbow family, the Rainbow Coalition of Light, you can look it up. It was put together a long time ago by Jesse Jackson, actually. And it's just a traveling tribe of free spirits, right? and they move from national forest to national forest, and they leave no trace when they leave, and they don't cut down any trees. They use the resources around them, and it's kind of like a traveling commune, basically.
I love that show.
So we lived among the family for about 2 years and sold jewelry, and really didn't see a newspaper or TV or anything during that time.
So how do you transition? First of all, how'd your mom react to that?
She will tell you every gray hair on her head was
because
from
of that.
Yeah, like
time.
I'm calling her from the calling card in Canada. Hey, I'm in Canada, and hey, I'm in Vermont, and I did actually check in at the time, but we didn't have cell phones, so think about how remote you really were, and we spent 3 months in Canada.
Wow.
In the Canadian woods up north of Montreal, so really sort of out of touch with the minutia of what was going on at the time. So in a way, that little, what I call it, bubble, it really helps my art. So even today, I haven't had cable TV since 2009, and there's just certain things that I know I have to operate within that bubble to remain creative, I guess.
Linda, I could never live in a commune. I need electricity and AC and a toilet.
Ultimately, people say, what brought you back?
That was my next question.
What are you most missing? And, what are the things?
What was the turning point that said, I got to get back into civilization?
Yeah, so, we were kind of bouncing around. It was the better part of 2 years, 2 solid years. And ultimately, what I remember being really homesick in Montreal, and we were in this big school bus, and we're trying to navigate Montreal streets, which they weren't built for school buses. So I think we took off 5 side mirrors on people's cars. But as we're turning, I'm looking in people's windows, and they're home, and it's the evening, and the glow of the inside home is glaring out. And there was a point where I really missed a real toilet and a nice, warm shower and bath and all that, because you really don't get that in the woods. You get really close, and you can absolutely stay clean when you live in that environment. You absolutely can. I bathed every morning. It's just not, the comforts of home. So ultimately, that's what always brought us back was I want the best of both worlds, honestly. So.
Well, you live it. Bill says it's Cassie the crafter. She made a table this past week.
I did. I rehabbed it was a garden bench, and I cheap DIY'd it, and just kind of turned it into a little barbecue station. So.
I saw that. Yeah, that looked really cool.
Yeah. So
all right,
I have a minute. I got a lot of side comments how do you have the time? And I don't know. Just sometimes I'm a little crazy. I tell people that me. I don't hide that. I just get passionate about something, and I just do it until it's done. So. But
what do you do? So how did you made the transition? You said, all right, I'm homesick. But did you immediately come back and get right into real estate? Or what was the transition like from living that lifestyle to coming back into I'll call it the traditional lifestyle?
That's a good question. So probably the hardest thing that I had in adjustment and really that I still struggle with today, honestly, is you go from an environment where you're completely accepted just for the mere fact that you're sitting there and you're breathing and you're having a conversation, and the person across from you, there's no judgment. They don't care what you do for a living. They don't care how much money you make. They don't really care anything other than the exact moment that you're sharing together. And when you go from that environment, 100% all the time to today's environment, business environment or whatever,
it's different.
It's very challenging. And probably the reason why there was probably maybe 3 or 4 times where we tried to come back, and it just was icky. It just wasn't nurturing to the soul, I guess, would be what I did. So, long time ago, during this journey, we stayed at this guy's house in Vermont, in North New Hampshire. He was a Rastafarian. He also had no running water in North New Hampshire, and he had an outhouse and, great little house. But one of the things he told me, which I actually use today, was move through Babylon and not in it. So you can be the bright light in society where maybe you're the person that's going to be non-judgmental to the other person, right? So I kind of took a little piece of that. There's no way you can live that long and in that environment and come out of it being the same,
right.
you know. And that's the one thing, like, if you know me and you've known me for probably longer than, I don't know, like a day, we've probably hugged, I'm sure. And I've probably told you I love you in some way. You know I've told you I love you, Ted.
Absolutely.
And I do mean it. My goal is really to make some, you know, I want people to know that I really do care about you, and we can all be very loving and open, even though sometimes, you know, it's kind of hard out there.
It's a challenge, right?
Yeah, it's a struggle.
Sometimes people are, I love the people that I've met several times. I immediately go in for a hug, and they're handshake people. You know, it can be a challenge. It's not as accepted as you think it is out there.
I can fist bump too, like fist bump's
I
cool.
can fist bump,
yeah.
I guess. But I know that when I am wanting to like hug somebody, people have told me I've actually trained them to be a hugger. And I think that you're talking about that, trying to make an impact, trying to change it, trying to show that you care about somebody, that you love somebody. But it can be met with resistance in the beginning. And so that, I understand that, but you had to go from the total acceptance, and then you get into I keep calling it the real world, but we'll call it the traditional world.
Yeah.
And you come in and you jump into the thing that you said you weren't ever going to do.
Oh, real estate?
Yes. So talk about that, because it's one thing to come in and like, I'm going to try to adapt to the way the traditional world is. And then it's another thing to get into an industry where you're really dealing with people who are hands off, and you've got all of these entities playing into what you're trying to accomplish, and you don't have control over any of them.
Yeah, so interesting. You know, there's a saying, and many of you probably watching know the quote, but change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change, you know? And, you know, you have to figure out, like, what funds your passion, you know? And what real estate, luckily, in my world, real estate's been able to do for me personally and my family is so I can fund my passion. Because, you know, I don't, you know, you have to watch how you identify yourself. So some people say, like, oh, I'm a realtor. Well, that's great. You know, you're a realtor and you sell real estate, but who are you? You know, because that's actually more important. So I'm an artist and I sell real estate. And I really try to separate those things.
I love that. Because
sometimes we identify on the careers we work, and and those careers are super rewarding, and you work really hard for them. At the end of the day, if you're not living your best life and you're not doing the things with your family that you want to do, and you're not being the person you want to be, then is it worth it? It doesn't matter what you are. So,
I agree. Yeah. I think what a lot of people do, I wrestle with this when I have real estate agents come on the show. They want to talk about the market and real estate, and I'm like, that's not what the show's about. I need to know about you. Well, how am I going to talk about me for 30 minutes, Ted? I go, well, that's part of what we're going to try to change in how you look at things, because I want them to think of themselves as that sells real estate.
Yeah, like I'm a skydiver, I'm a surfer, I'm a dog lover. You know, whatever you are, whatever you're doing, if your career is not funding something you're passionate about, you need to reevaluate that, I think.
Agreed.
You know, because if you have a big why and you have something you feel passionate about, and that, you know, I might work, you know, hey, I had to work Sunday. I worked all weekend. I work all the time. I have to fiercely protect my time off in my business. I really do. At the same time, you know, when things come up in your life and you're able to handle those emergencies and it doesn't put your family out, that makes me feel good about all the hard work that is done. But at the end of the day, you know, your career choice should be funding what you're passionate about. And your passion doesn't always have to fund your life, and sometimes it does, and you're really super lucky. But sometimes it just fund. You know, you can, as long as you can do something that you really believe in. You know.
How did you? So you have two children.
I do.
And so you have all parts of the world now. You've got the free-spirited, you've got traditional. So as you're raising the kids, what was that like in the household? Did you have a constant battle in your heart and your soul of, well, I want to give them enough tools that they can function in the traditional world, but I also want them to be free spirits and to do what they want to do with their passion.
So if my kids ever did to me what I did to my mother, oh my gosh, like, hi mom, I'm going to live on a school bus and travel around, and no, I don't know where I'm going, and I don't have a job, but I'm going to make jewelry and I'm going to sell that, and it's going to be like super fun.
You'd lose your mind, right?
I will kill him on the spot. So with that being said, we've with my kid number one, Lucas, he his passion is producing music. He produces he makes the beats for several hip hop bands. One's called O2, and he's a UCF student. He's going to be graduating in the summer, and he was a miracle baby. We were very lucky that he survived. He beat the odds, and so really from like day one motherhood. I mean, I literally, how they say like, not to get religious, because I'm not entirely religious, but I do believe in God. I did get on my knees before God, and I was like, if you save him, I will. I mean, I owe you everything,
I love that.
And he did, and there was many miracles that happened, and Lucas turned out great. So really, from like my first kid, I was just happy they were breathing and alive. I mean, literally, that is what I was grateful for. I didn't care how many words he spoke. I didn't care when he crawled. I didn't care when he walked. All I cared about was that he was alive and he was breathing and he was healthy and he was here with us. And we took that into kid number two. So I've been we're very open and honest with our kids. We have a very open and dialogue. They can drop the F-bomb. They can be themselves. Our house is not my door is not locked. And yes, I have like people that just come in and they, not just random people we know, my young adults, and we sort of have a village, and I really wouldn't have it any other way. Kids are great. I'd have a million of them if I won the lottery. You'd see me adopting every foster kid in Central Florida. I would love, I really enjoyed helping mentor kids. I trained and taught martial arts for many years, so I was able to be a part of a lot of young kids' lives during that time period, and I like to think that maybe I made a difference. But yeah, I mean,
I love that. I love that the dialogue is open. I think a lot of people think the dialogue is open, and yet there's still these restrictions. And yet, as a parent who has kids that we're incredibly open with, sometimes it doesn't matter. They go the opposite direction, and then they don't talk. It's like pulling teeth. So keep trying, keep having that open dialogue, and making it a comfortable place to be, a safe place to be, because sometimes that's the only safe place they have. And it's so important. I see that your mom said that's where all my gray hair came from. We love Reba.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. The awesome. young adults, though, I think they do need to challenge you. I think at some point, if my young adult sons, eventually, they want to, I can see my older one, they want to go out and live their own lives, and we're hoping, we're trying to make that happen and be as open and free. We have very few rules at the house, but the rules that we have are absolutely stuck to, because I have very few. So that's the thing. Like we don't have very many, but the ones we have, I expect you to stick to, and I've never really had any pushback from them on that. So super lucky. Yeah, we're really lucky.
So what about you? What about taking that? So you take it from family. How did you take it to team? How did you take it? Because you work with other realtors. You have a team of people. You have realtors that you work with that work with you. How did you implement that in the team modality or the team environment?
Well, when I first got into real estate, I was on a team. I assisted my mom with property management. That was during the bottom of the market. And then I got licensed, I believe it was 2011. And so in 2012, I sort of entered in as a sales agent, realtor, and I worked as a buyer's agent with my mom. So I enjoyed the team thing. What's nice about being on a team is if one person can't make it, I mean, you could really kind of squeeze day off, which is great. And you have somebody there that, real estate is a lonely business. I think so, in some ways it is.
I agree.
And so when you have somebody else there you can bounce ideas off of, I believe everybody does better. And my mom left to go, she's a broker of record for a community up in Ocala, and she went to kind of be with my grandfather during the last 5-6 years of his his life where they could spend a lot of time together. So when she left, that was like 2014, and I was a single agent all the way up until last year. I brought in Melissa Hastings.
Who's on here, and she just said yup.
Hi. I brought in Melissa Hastings I think we did like a little trial thing last October, and we got I had her full-time use halfway through last year. So she's kind of lapped a year with me, and it's nice. And then I just brought on another business partner, Barbara Liston. She just recently got her license. She's newer as well, and she's out there killing it. She's already had a closing with our team.
Nice.
And it just feels, I fought the team thing for a long time, and what's super great about it, like a surprising reward from being on a team or running a team, is that I'm able to, because think about it, like I was supporting my household, right?
Right.
And then when you bring on a teammate, now you're helping support their lives too.
Correct.
And hopefully they are doing they're making a living so that they can do the things they're passionate about within your business umbrella, right? So in a way, it makes me feel like if I start thinking about it, I get really stressed. Like, if I don't keep this train running, I've got 4
because you have
families.
Other people you're feeding
Yes,
in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I've got Barbara's family, I've got Melissa's family now, I've got Raquel, she's my full-time trained transaction coordinator. I've got her family I'm feeding, so I've got 3 solid families and my own. So I've got 4 families that are depending on me every day.
Every single day.
To get up in the morning, doesn't matter how I feel or what day I'm having, and go out there and get a business and build a life together that is huge. So
I think it's so. And Melissa, I promise I'll ask that question. She wants me to ask how long you kept her out that first day.
Well, I had another buyer's agent for a very short period of time, and they say like a bad hire can really hurt you, and that is absolutely true, guys.
It's so true.
Literally, this person nearly did some damage. I had to do some serious damage control. It was like 30 days. It was hardly anything. So I was really resistant to bringing on a buyer's agent. So what she had to do is come out with me on a day with me, right? And a day with me is not an easy day.
Day in the life of Cassie.
It's a long day, and it starts early. And I kept asking her if she wanted to bail out. I'm like, are you good? Like, we got to go do this, this, and this. You good? And she's like, yep, I'm good. I'm here. I'm here to win it. I'm in it to win it.
Love it.
So I spent a day with her in the car, and at the end of that day, she hadn't thrown up, she hadn't passed out. I didn't, she made it through the day, and I thought, she's got the fortitude to make it in this business. I think a lot of people get in and they really do think it's collecting checks, and for anybody you're talking to out there, anybody doing, I don't know, 10 million or more, maybe, it is not. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And I'm super grateful to have a really good business partner in Melissa and Barbara. I feel like I'm, working with my family, and I'm glad that she's a brat.
She's a brat. I love it.
she's a wild stallion. That's what
what's the long-term goal? What's your do you have an end game? Have you thought about? Are you a planner who knows what they want to do in 5 years, 10 years?
So I am really good at surrounding myself with people that are much smarter than I am, way more business minded than I am. I think that's probably my biggest gift, because I'm a willy-nilly artist. Just think about an abstract artist, a little color here, a little color there. So any structure you ever hear me talk about is absolutely a learned behavior, and it's like I try to strive for, I guess. But
it's good striving. That's a good goal.
I'm not the most organized. So the future, it looks like this. I am 40. I think I'll be 47 this year.
You look like such a baby. I swear you really do. I tell you this all the time. You look very young.
I feel like I'm 14, honestly.
Well, I have the maturity of a 12-year-old boy,
I know.
So we're 100%.
If you gave me the option between like a root beer float and like wine, I'd probably take the root beer float. I tried to like wine, but it's just tequila. I like tequila. And
it's all right.
Vodka, but
nothing bad about
anyways,
that.
I'm not much of a drinker. So the future holds a little bit of, I'd love to be a coach. So I'm actually a John Maxwell coach. I'm working on getting to be a certified John Maxwell coach. That would be in end of August or September, somewhere there.
That's awesome.
And so I'd like to get into a coaching and more of a teaching. I really enjoyed, one of the things I had the opportunity to do when I trained martial arts was to help teach a lot of the classes and be a part of that. And I really just like helping people. If I could make the money I'm making now, and the income that I'm making now, and all I had to do was teach and pour into people, that would just be like bliss. That and coloring. So if I could color.
Oh, you like to color, like the adult coloring.
I love to. If I could just color for a living, I'd be super happy. So if I could just help other people be successful, and that's what I did for a living, that would just be like super. That's kind of like my end game.
That's the end game.
I like the real estate business. I like helping people. I like feeling like I've helped people. But at the end of the day, what makes my heart sing is just feeling like I help people. So how can I make a living from that? That's what I'd like to know.
Isn't that? I think that if you aren't thinking that same thing, then you need to rethink, because I think all of us need to think about that. What can I do to? What did you say earlier? I want to fund my passion. I want to.
Right.
I want to be able
your
to.
Your career should fund your passion.
I think that's so important. I think it's the opposite. I think a lot of people, they're all about funding it, but they have no idea why. It's not to gain more things. Trust me, been there and done that.
It's more to manage. If you have more stuff, you have more to manage.
So much. Ask Stacy. She calls me a hoarder. I'm terrible. I'm trying to minimize.
Well, think about people in New York. They don't have stuff. They have experiences.
They do have.
They have lifestyles.
We don't have lifestyles down here.
We have lifestyles, but they live in these little boxes. That's what I try to think about when I want to buy something else. Think about that. They spend their money on experiences. What are you going to remember? What you did or what you bought?
I agree. And all of this stuff that I would get rid of and sell that I accumulated over the years, we're really, we're at that age. I'm at that age where we're really looking at that. Like, why do I still have that? And I have a very good friend who's a therapist, and she's like, Ted, you're attached to the thing, not the memory. So attach yourself to the memory, and then you can let go of the thing. That's a Mary Tiffany, by the way. Love her.
I do art, though.
You do.
Art's a good investment.
I love art. Our house.
Art's a good investment.
Looks crazy.
Yeah,
You'll have to come
mine
over.
too.
All right, so we're going to share all of Cassie's contact information, how you can reach out to her, how you can learn more about Cassie. Who doesn't want to learn more about Cassie and her journey? So you talked about helping other people, and we've shifted. We're talking about mentorship a lot on the show. Ted's community is doing a lot with mentorship. And so I'm asking the guests at the end of the show, if you can talk about someone who impacted you, a mentor, could be a family member, it could be the guy who pumped gas for you earlier today, somebody who made an impact on you that really touched you or changed you or maybe changed the trajectory of your life. Might not be the gas guy.
Where can I go get someone to pump my gas?
Edgewater, the College Park station
on
Edgewater.
He still pumps gas
He
there.
still pumps gas there.
Oh my
It's
God,
my
that's
favorite
funny.
station to go to. And he checks under the hood and does all that good stuff. But is there somebody that you can, hey Rachel, that you can maybe point out or identify? Because you're such a big mentor. I can tell mentorship is important to you. So we all have had a mentor. A lot of times they don't get the credit.
So before you, for you, the people out there that know me, you probably know who I'm going to say, and that's definitely my mom. She was a single mom. She slayed real estate many moons ago, and she's constantly got some good insight. She has a great poster on her wall that has a horse race, because when you're the winner of a horse race, is clean. I mean, the trail, the road is theirs. They're in the front. They're winning that race, but the people behind them are just covered in dirt. So you always want to be the one out in front, right? She's just gives me the brutal truth. She does not like the blonde. It's too light. She's
like
the
the
one.
blonde, Mom.
I'm not crazy about it. I'm going back dark, whatever. But it was fun. She's the one that I go to when I really want some honesty in my business, and she's got to be my number one mentor. But I got another one too, like Beth Woodall. I've got a lot of strong women I'm surrounded by. Beth Woodall, she's another person. She will flat out tell you to shut up. She actually did, and she was right. I needed to shut up. So I appreciate those strong women and men that are in my lives constantly pushing me. And so basically my mom for the earlier part, and then definitely she's still there for me. Last time I talked to her about my real estate was probably a week ago. And you know, Beth Woodall is a constant. She's a constant in my life too, and I go to her for opinions too, because I value what she has to say. And you know, there's a lot. I'm surrounded by a lot of, like I said, I'm really good at surrounding myself with people that are just way better than I am.
Well, you want to tap into talents that aren't yours, right?
Yes.
So we all have our talents. Thank you, Sarah. And your mom says it's growing on her, by the way, the blonde hair.
It's really
Sarah
it's too
Siegel.
late.
Sarah Siegel's first time she's watched the show.
Oh, Sarah, yeah, I love Sarah's wonderful. Sarah was at our office for a while, and she's killing it with her.
Sarah was the listing agent on the house I'm in now.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of really, you know, there's a lot. You know, Orlando's a small town. I don't have to tell you that. It's a small town, and what I love about the realtor community that we have is we really are one big family, and there are many realtors. Sarah's one of them that have been around a long time. No insulting on that, but you know, you've been around a long time, and you're just wonderful mentors for all these other younger agents that are coming in, and they absolutely need our respect. And we're just a crazy, dysfunctional, wonderful family.
That's a great way to put it. I love our crazy, dysfunctional real estate family. And our community too. Our community is very tight overall. If you're not involved in the community, you're missing out. You should definitely get involved. Thanks for being on the show. Absolutely love you to pieces. Love Miss Cassie Lamoureux.
Thanks for listening
All right,
to me.
so reach out to her, and we will be back tomorrow. Got some great shows this week. We're going to hit episode 400 on Friday. Super excited about that. And we love you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Mwah. Love ya.
Love you.